So there's been a lot of talk about this financial independence movement, but what does it actually mean? And what if you're planning to become financially independent or even retire early? Well, of course, who better to answer this than Auntie V? So we're actually going to be talking about what even is financial independence or financial freedom. What do we even mean when we're talking about retiring early, and how can you actually achieve it? And if you've never even heard of the terms financial independence or financial freedom, don't worry, because by the end of this video, you will know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, Auntie V, you already know what I'm going to say. You're going back to the basics, right? Now, if you're a returning subscriber, I'm pretty sure you already know the deal. Google is always my best friend. So what I'm going to be looking at is first, what actually is financial independence or financial freedom? And then what do we actually mean by the FIRE movement? So if you don't know, that stands for financial independence, retire early. So I've taken a look at one of my trusted sources, so Wikipedia, and really it's just because it's always the first thing to pop up on Google. So what it basically says is financial independence is the status of having enough income to pay one's living expenses for the rest of one's life without having to be employed or dependent on others. And an income earned without having to work a job is commonly referred to as passive income, and that's definitely something that I have mentioned before. And then when it comes to retirement, that is the withdrawal of one's position or occupation or from one's active working life. So a person may also semi-retire by reducing hours or even their workload. So if you want to put that all together, there is actually a movement called FIRE, and that movement is a lifestyle movement with the goal of gaining financial independence and retiring early. Now, what's interesting is Wikipedia actually says that the model became particularly popular among millennials in the 2010s, gaining traction through online communities via information shared in blogs, podcasts, and online forums, which is quite interesting because that is exactly how I basically found it. I found the FIRE movement really on kind of YouTube channels and different blogs. So of course, now Auntie V is just going to explain it in her own words, because for me, simple is better. So when I'm thinking about being financially independent or just being financially free, it's definitely a key goal for me. So really, it's about having enough income to cover all of your expenses. So not only is it going to cover your essential bills, but to also achieve true financial freedom, then it will be able to cover all of your bills. So not even just your essential bills, but also covering all your other expenses as well. Now, do I think everyone should be striving for financial independence? Truthfully, yes. So I'm not saying that you need to be able to retire at the age of 30, but I do think it's important for people to become financially independent, just so that they're not relying on, you know, having just one income stream. And in case you end up losing your job, then you know that you're already financially independent and you don't have to worry about paying bills. So for me personally, I think it's something that we all need to be talking about and hopefully working towards it. And at the end of the video, you're going to know exactly how you can achieve financial independence. So when people are talking about retiring, specifically retiring early, it just means that you don't necessarily have to work and that you've got income that's just paying for all of your expenses again. So it's quite important to know the difference, because when you're actually financially independent, you don't actually have to stop working, if that makes sense. Even if you love your job, you can still continue to work and still have that money paying for all your bills. Are you telling me that I could just take a trip to the Caribbean and not have to worry about working at all? Well, yes, technically you could, because basically all you'd be doing is you'd be having assets that will actually pay for your lifestyle. So if you wanted to, and for example, if you had these passive income streams, you could technically be on the beach and not have to work at all, and all of your expenses will basically be paid. So it really means that you just have the option to do what you want.
Sign me up. Hello, Barbados.
Now, I think it's really important to note that specifically people that want to be financially independent or even retire early aren't necessarily looking to just be on the beach for the rest of their lives. You will find that a lot of people may just want to reduce their hours, for example, or they may just want to work in a job that maybe doesn't pay well, but they're very passionate about. And so that means that they can actually live without thinking about how to pay their bills. Because unfortunately, you will find that there's a large percentage of people that currently hate their jobs. And personally, this is something that I have really spoken about as well. So I've really talked about why I want to achieve financial independence and maybe even retire early. So if you haven't watched that video, then you can definitely check it out. I will link that up here for you and in the description below. Okay, so why would you want to do it? So again, for most people, it's going to be about that freedom and having that choice. So if there's a time where you don't like your manager or you just don't like the work that you're doing, you can afford to quit and not actually even think about having to pay bills. Because again, a lot of the reasons why people are going to work is so that they can pay their bills. Hey V, I know it's 5 p.m, but can you write me a 20-page report? It's urgent. Yeah, sure. When do you need it by? It will need to be on my desk by 8 a.m. tomorrow, please. But that means I'll have to work through the night. Yep. Good luck. Another reason is of course something that I've mentioned before. So if you are really passionate about something but it doesn't necessarily pay very much, then you don't really have to worry about that because you're financially independent and you have the freedom to really just do what you want. But then also for a lot of people, when it comes to being financially independent, it's going to bring one thing that people value a lot, and that is time. Because you'll probably know that unless you have a time machine, it's something that you can't really get back. So if you've lost all those days because you've been working for so long, and it's even doing something that you're not even passionate about, you can't actually get that time back. So you will see for a lot of people, that's really why they are motivated to become financially independent. And actually, if you're doing something that you're really passionate about and that you love, you will probably find that you're a lot more fulfilled. Maybe you even become a lot more happier, or even just satisfied with your life and just very content. Okay, great. So how can I do it? So for me, when I think about financial independence, there are two ways that I think you can achieve it. The first one is actually creating enough passive income streams to cover all of your expenses. And then the second one is really benefiting through capital gains. So actually using the 4% rule. Right. Expand, please. So when I'm talking about creating passive income streams, it really just means that you are no longer trading your time for money. So usually if you do go to a job, you are going to be trading your time for money because you have these skills and you're basically working and you get paid for your work. Whereas with passive income streams, you could technically be making money at any time. So you could be asleep at 2 o'clock in the morning and still be making money. Even if you don't have a 9-to-5 job and let's say you have a business, you're not technically creating any passive income streams if you still have to be the person to run that business. And so with passive income streams, you are literally making money in your sleep. And so ideally what you would want to do is have enough passive income streams to actually cover all of your expenses. So for example, when it comes to passive income streams, that might include things like dividends. So that's where you might have a company that will actually pay you some money just for investing in their stock. Another passive income stream could potentially be through property. So for example, if you decide to buy a house and you rent that out so someone else will come and live there, or if you're actually living in your own house but you rent out a room, for example, then that could potentially be a passive income stream. Now I know there's always been a debate questioning whether property is actually passive, but that is something that you could do, because even if you do tend to rent it out, a lot of people will actually automate those systems. So for example, you can get a property manager, you can get a builder to do all the maintenance, you could even maybe get some accountants, you can actually hire help so that it can actually be as passive as possible. And if you do want to learn a bit more about dividend paying stocks or even property, I do have a video where I talk about that in a bit more detail, so I will link that up here for you and in the description below. And then another way you could potentially make some passive income streams is really through online content. So for example, you could decide to create courses, or you could maybe make some paid products. And so if you have an audience that is willing to pay you, then you're able to actually make passive income every single time someone either purchases your course or your paid product. So basically when it comes to actually calculating how much you'll need, you just need to figure out what your expenses are for the month and maybe for the year, and then figure out how many passive income streams you need to do, or how much passive income you need to cover those expenses. So for example, if your expenses are about £2,000 a month or £24,000 a year, then you would just need to make sure that your passive income streams actually covers that or even exceeds that. Okay, so that means I could achieve financial independence in like a couple of months, right? Well, no. The one thing I would say is when it comes to passive income streams, guys, do not always believe what you hear online in terms of create passive income streams within the next 1 to 2 months. When it comes to passive income, I am telling you from experience, it takes a lot of time and effort. So you do actually need to put in some work in the beginning, and probably will be quite a lot of work for you to actually get that passive income stream. And it's something that could actually take time to build up. So for example, unless you've got a high amount of capital, it's going to be quite difficult to get a lot of passive income streams when it comes to things like property or even dividend paying stocks. But if you're willing to be consistent, then it will start to compound over time, and then you will start to really reap those benefits. But the one thing I would say is when it comes to some of these passive income streams, just make sure you're doing your due diligence and make sure you're doing enough research as well. So don't always just listen to what everyone's doing, because it might not actually be right for you. Okay, so what's the other option? So the other way you can do it is actually when you start to buy assets, you might be able to actually withdraw it at a time. And that's what a lot of people will do when it comes to traditional retirement. So you will have a lump sum at the end of your pension, for example, and then you will start to withdraw maybe a certain percentage, or you might even just withdraw the whole thing, and then you will start to live on that capital. And so when I'm talking about the 4%, that's basically just the kind of rule of thumb in terms of how much you should be withdrawing each time. So let's just take a look at Investopedia and see what it says about the 4% rule. So it says that it's basically, again, a rule of thumb used to determine how much a retiree should withdraw from a retirement account each year. So this rule seeks to provide a steady income stream to the retiree while also maintaining an account balance that keeps income flowing through retirement. So basically what you want to do is first find out your financial independence number. So what that basically is your annual expenses times 25 if you want to use the 4% rule. So using the previous example, if you had £2,000 as your expenses, find out your annual expense, which is £24,000, and then times that by 25, which is going to come to £600,000. Now, I'm thinking of doing a video talking about your financial independence number in a bit more detail and how you can actually use a calculator to figure out how much you need to save for it. So if that's something that you're interested, make sure you subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out. And whilst you're down there, you may as well just give this video a thumbs up because it really does help to support the channel. But if you want to learn more about using a compound interest calculator, I do have a video talking about how you can actually become a millionaire so that you can become financially independent. So of course, I will link that up here for you and in the description below. So what experts basically suggest is once you get to that number, so if you have £600,000 invested, you would only need to withdraw about 4% each year for you to live consistently for about the next 30 years. So again, if you take that £600,000 and you times that by 4%, that leaves you with £24,000 that you could basically withdraw each year. So I really hope that makes sense. But basically what you'd be doing is, if you're investing in the stock market, for example, you would continuously invest until you get to that financial independence number. So for example, the £600,000. And so by that point, when you've got that £600,000 and you decide to retire, you can just be withdrawing 4% every single year. Now, there are concerns about whether this is actually a safe withdrawal rate, because the worst thing you want to do is be taking out 4% each year, but then suddenly you start to run out of money. So there have been questions on whether you should actually be maybe withdrawing only 3% a year. So it may be something that you might have to just figure out whilst you're doing it. Although a lot of experts still say that the 4% rule is okay, but you might want to just be safe and just think about maybe withdrawing 3%. Plus, things like your spending habits might change. So you're really going to have to think about what your expenses are likely to be when you finally reach retirement, or, you know, when you just want to stop working and just want to be withdrawing from the capital that you have. So I'm a bit confused now. Which one do I pick? So for me, I kind of like using the hybrid of the two, because when it comes to being retired, so traditional retirement, maybe over 65, that's when I might use the withdrawal rate, because that's going to last maybe about 30 years. Obviously, it may not be 4%, it may be 3%, which is a bit more reserved, but that's fine. But then because I'm planning to quote unquote retire early, or at least become financially independent quite early, what I will try to do is actually create passive income streams so that I don't have to worry about money running out, basically. And also, when it comes to passive income streams, it means that I don't necessarily have to think about market crashes, because yes, that may have an impact, but it may not have as big as an impact if, for example, I had all my money in the stock market and I was withdrawing it. Because if the stock market crashed, and let's say it crashed by about 30%, then that might impact how much you're able to actually withdraw during that year. But of course, the choice is yours. It's really going to depend on your personal circumstances and really what you prefer and your research as well. So remember, I'm not a financial advisor. I am not telling you what to do. But if you did like this video, then please do give me a thumbs up if you haven't already, and let me know in the comments, are you trying to achieve financial independence? Are you even thinking about retiring early? I do post every Tuesday and Friday, so if you would like to know more, then of course you can subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys on Tuesday.